Hey guys, Peter Chen here. We're making part 4 of this session. The pool looks pretty good. Think I'm playing fairly well, so might as well continue recording. On table 2, going to defend big blind against cutoff with ace-9 offsuit. Sometimes it can be tiring to think about your hands and also talk about what you're doing for even just an hour. I know one of the comments I get a lot is to explain my thought process more. So I think what you're hearing right now is actually much more than my thought process in my normal sessions where I'm not making a video. I think it's really important not to tire yourself out, especially if you want to be playing a lot of poker. You know, if you want to be playing for a few hours and playing every day or almost every day, you don't want to exhaust yourself with thinking super deeply about hands while you're playing a bunch of tables. Table 2, opening cutoff with Jack-8 suited. And table 1, opening hijack with King-Queen offsuit. And another thing is that while you're playing, you have 15 seconds, maybe you have a time bank. C-betting on table 1, going to be betting my range. So in your 15-second time bank, I don't think there's too much you can do with that time to be thinking deeply about the hand and improving how well you're playing. On the other side of that, if you're just making mistakes like timing out or just forgetting what you're supposed to be doing, or just ending your session early because you're tired, that's going to really be hurting your win rate. On table 2, going to be doing a lot of big betting here. I think even going for a pot size bet is okay. And on table 1, after I bet twice, I don't think there's any ace-x, unless it's ace-x with a flush draw. Actually, that's quite a few hands, so going to check back. Maybe this is a bit too tight. Maybe I'm still getting called by lots of queens. But again, for example, this hand that I just played on table 1, maybe I can improve a little bit by thinking a lot about our ranges, but at the end of the day, it's probably a pretty close spot. I think it's okay to pass on your small edges here or there just to be able to have an easier time playing. Play a few more hours, play a few more tables. That's really going to increase your win rate a lot. Not your win rate, but just how much you're winning overall. Folding to this flop bet with 10-9 might be closer than you think it is. Not sure. On table 2, opening cutoff with King-Queen offsuit. On table 1, opening button with 9-6 suited. On table 2, opening hijack with 10-8 suited. And on table 1, going to be doing a lot of betting here. I'm going to be checking back the turn. And I think from the button, want to take the showdown with my 6, have a lot of high card hands, have basically every ace high. So this hand is much too strong to be turning into a bluff. On table 1, opening under the gun with ace jack suited. On table 2, this hand is going to be good for any option. Going to raise this time. On table 1, opening cutoff with jack 10 offsuit. And I'll start off with a small bet on the flop. On table 2, going to bet the flop. And on table 1, I have a straight now. I don't think I'm ever betting big on this turn. And if I was going to, maybe this is a reasonable hand to do it with. Maybe I always want to have a flush. Anyways, just always betting for a smaller size. Checking back the turn on table 2. And I think even with ace high, I won't have to bluff this river. I can obviously have all the king high hands. I can have worse ace x. Maybe sometimes I'll win at showdown against king jack or king 10 that called me. Some ace x with hearts. On table 1, I get called by the small blind and going to be doing big betting on this board. I have a good hand to big bet as well. I think in general against a small blind we bet bigger than if we're against a big blind as well. Against the big blind you just get a ton of auto folds from everything that's basically like no pair, no draw. So even if you just bet really tiny, all those hands fold, but against a small blind, they never really have those hands. They have a pretty strong range. On table 2, going to start by betting small with my whole range. Get those auto folds. On table 2, calling big blind versus button with king 9 offsuit. And facing a bet, I'm always going to call. After check, I think I always want to be betting a king. Not sure about the sizing. So I think going for a quarter pot bet makes sense with the most hands, and I'm also trying to get called by, well, a 9 or worse. I got called by pocket 7s there, which is very reasonable bluff catcher. I think I get to go big sometimes with my king without a kicker, but I'm not sure how often. On table 1, opening hijack with ace-10 suited. And on table 2, I'm going to squeeze with ace-king offsuit. On table 1, this is a board we're going to be betting big on, so going to go for a pot size bet. And on table 2, going to bet half pot. On table 1, I could 3-bet this sometimes. Call this time. I'm going to call the flop. Don't have the best hand, but also don't think I should be folding this yet. Now I can fold on the turn. On table 2, opening under the gun with pocket aces. And on table 1, button limps. We're getting a lot of limping pots in this session, which is super fun. Table 2, I'm going to 3-bet big blind versus button with 9-8 suited. On table 1, opening small blind with queen 8 suited. This is a flop I'll be betting my range for a small size. On table 2, I 3-bet button versus hijack with ace king suited. Very good turn for me on table 1. It's a good one for me to be betting big on. On table 2, opening hijack with ace-10 suited. And I'll be calling this 3-bet. On table 1, opening pocket 4s on the button. So after flop goes check check, I think I want to be playing fairly polar here. This is a hand that's like borderline. I could bet, I could check. On table 1, I bet for big size with my pocket 4s. On the queen, I think I want to be betting very big again, but also not betting very often. Maybe a hand like this makes it in sometimes, but I think I'm supposed to be betting with like King 10 type hands. King 10 or flush draws. So on the flop, I think I'm always getting called by a 3, always getting called by a jack. I don't think a queen would make it to the river this way by just checking the river. There are some flushes. I think I have a very close hand to value bet. There's obviously some pocket pairs as well. I think it's very close. Going to check back. Good check. On table 2, under the gun opened, I called the button with 4s. I think checking and betting are both reasonable. With the 4s here, there might be some blocker thing where I want to bet this hand or not. Not really sure. Maybe it's just mixed. I don't know if I want to raise this hand or not. I think I'm just getting called all the time. I think if I was facing a check, I would want to be betting that a bunch. But again, maybe there is some blocker thing where I want to take a better hand. Although just playing the board makes it a very good candidate to bluff. On table 1, opening small blind with Queen 10 suited, and this is a flop I'll be doing a lot of betting on. And now hitting the straight draw, going to be over betting. On table 2, could 3-bet this hand, could call it. On table 1, opening small blind with pocket 2s, and on table 2, calling big blind versus cutoff with pocket 4s. With the 2s, I think both checking and betting are fine. Going to check this time. And on table 2 on this turn, I don't have the greatest hand to bet, but I do get bets with, I think, basically every hand. So, going to bet this smallish amount of the time. On table 1, I check called the flop. Folding the 4s to a raise. And I'm going to call again on the turn. On table 2, facing a squeeze, we want to be playing very, very tight. Now with my flush, I'm going to have to call this bet. Unfortunately, I was ahead until I hit my hand. But I think Queen 9 would be betting basically any river there, and I wouldn't be calling any river other than the flush, so very hard for me to win that hand other than hitting a 2. On table 2, I opened a bit too light. I don't think this is ever an open. On table 2, opening button with pocket 7s. And on table 1, 3-betting big blind versus button with pocket kings. On table 1, I'm going to 3-bet the small blind against cutoff with king jack suited, and table 2, defending big blind against the min raise with 10-9 offsuit. Flop top pair here. I'm not going to be raising this ever, I think. Want a bit of a stronger hand. On table 1, opening king queen offsuit from hijack, and with the 10, calling again on the turn. I'll be calling the river too, unless facing a very big bet against half pot. I'll always be calling. On table 2, opening cutoff with king jack offsuit. On table 2, opening cutoff with king 9 suited. And I'll be folding to this 3-bet. Table 1 opening cutoff with king queen offsuit. I'm going to be doing some checking on this flop. Even with the hand as strong as king queen, I don't think I have to always bet it. So I'm going to go for a check this time. And calling this bet. No, I don't think big blind is betting a lot of ace-x on the turn. So it's not a super dangerous river for me. I'm also not calling a lot of ace-x. So calling down with my queen. Opening 9-6 suited on table 2 on the button. This is a great flop for me. I'll be checking a lot. I'll be betting big a lot. I'll go for the half flop bet. On table 1, I opened ace-8 suited from hijack, got called by the big blind, and I'll just be betting small. And table 2, calling against the raise. I have more outs on the turn. I think raising and calling are both reasonable here. I think it's hard to make too much fold. So I prefer calling. We hit our straight. Basically, yeah, this time we're going to put all the money in no matter what happens. Very unfortunate to be against 8-6. On table 1, we could be 3-betting this sometimes, mostly calling. Going to call this time. And folding to the flop bet. On table 2, this king 10, 3-betting sometimes, calling sometimes. Going to call this time. We flop really well. On table 1, opening jack 6 suited from button, we get called by the small blind and 3-bet by the big blind. I'll be folding to that. I'm going to start betting with my king 10. And calling against the raise. On table 1, 3-betting ace queen offsuit big blind versus button. Table 2 against the check, I'll be betting again. Maybe this is a hand that I could be betting bigger sometimes too. But we get raised again. I think I'll just be calling this every time. I really hate checking back a hand as weak as this. But very confused about this hand. The check raise, check raise. Seems super, super strong to me. I'll cry when I get shown king queen. Okay, I was against 2 pair. Don't think that hand is folding. I'm going to end the video here. Thanks for watching and see you next week.